Welcome to Boy Party. This week, Shane and I are joined by Hannah Friedel to discuss Yorgos Lanthimos' The Favourite, starring Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and Olivia Colman. It's Boy Party. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Boy Party, the podcast that tackles cinema's most legendary team-ups, films where two or more major stars shared the screen. My name is Lucy, and I'm joined as always by the queen who I live with, do chores for, clean and wash and care for in every way. And this week, fighting for his attention, it's Shane. Fighting for his attention is a special guest joining us all the way from San Francisco, California. Hannah Friedel is on the show. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Despite the distance, I think I could challenge that relationship.
I think
in
so.
a very the favorite type way.
I think so.
I feel like I could be an interloper.
Yes. You just have to figure out what sort of interloping can be done through the medium of online video calls. I'm sure it's very doable. In a the favorite situation.
Yeah, rabbits aren't.
Yeah, rabbits. Yeah, exactly. Bring your new cat and hold it up to the screen, and we can start doing some weird psychotic
stuff. My child.
Stuff.
Go
exactly. In a the favorite situation, what role do you see yourself fitting into most easily?
I honestly think Rachel Weisz's character, I feel like I'm not a scheming type lady.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the manipulation gene as much as I wish I did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think I
don't
do.
have the Emma Stone. I couldn't step on a rabbit. I don't think I could. Oh, goodness.
I couldn't step on a rabbit, but I think
me anyway.
I think I'd be able to. I'm able to manipulate Shane into sitting down and watching films like The Favourite that he doesn't want to watch every week. So I feel like I have some skill there.
I mean, you call it manipulation, but also you're selling sitting down on the couch for 2 hours and doing nothing, which is a very, very easy sell.
It's not that different to
and watching English,
yeah,
like court drama, which is I think that's more challenging than nothing.
True. Shane didn't really vibe with this film as much as, he could have. I'm not its number one fan in the world either, but I think you were struggling a little bit with the pacing of it.
Was I jet lagged?
No. This was like less than a week ago.
Yeah, it was less than a week ago. My sense of time is all over the place.
You can't claim jet lag for that long.
You'd be surprised. If I never sleep properly since getting off the plane, then I can
true.
Jet lag in perpetuity. Yeah, I think I was just tired and never fully got into the swing of things, and it just seemed to be I seem to be hypersensitive to the Yorgos bullshit of just like his type of humor that I was like, all right.
No, I'm with you there. I actually haven't been able to like fully stomach a Yorgos movie since this one.
That's
I think
funny.
when this movie came out, I was like its number one fan. Lucian can attest.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I still think it's my favorite Lanthimos, but I think the things I like it for are not the Lanthimos elements.
Mm-hmm.
It's more the cinematography, I don't know. I think that his female characters in this movie are operating in a way that is unusual for him.
Mm-hmm. I think what I highlighted when we were watching it that I like a lot more than his other films is just the real outdoor locations being used. I think his type of cinematography and his production design works so much better when you're showing me real exterior forests and castles and all this compared to the like hyper artificial sets in Poor Things and the really kind of dull like hotel motel settings of Sacred Deer and The Lobster and
whatever
Kinds
the
of Kindness.
Lobster was.
Yeah. All of those are set in...
I don't know. It reminded me of a Barry Lyndon feel to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's trying to copy Barry Lyndon and like have that sort of natural lighting, like lots of candles, lots of rays of light shining through trees, which is like, I mean, Barry Lyndon is like such a stunning piece of work. This is not quite Barry Lyndon, but it does have a bit of the Barry Lyndon charm, which is, it doesn't count for nothing. And it's obviously interesting to do the Barry Lyndon thing with all women. Like I was reading about the development of this film, and it said people were kind of like scared to make it because of how insignificant men are to the plot of the film. And it is actually a very rare film of this scale where I would say the male characters contribute absolutely nothing to the narrative. Like it is entirely driven by the three women and how they interact with each other. And that is such a rare thing that you realize how striking it is. You're like, oh my God, it's actually such a fun role reversal to have to have the manipulator be the woman, the manipulated be the woman, and then kind of the passive person be the woman as well, which is such an odd.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like, I really like the female characters in
Mhm.
this movie, and I think it's despite I have not gelled with a Lanthimos project since. And it's funny because I think the writer also
Mhm.
he went on to write that show about Catherine the Great, and I hated
Right.
it.
Right. Okay.
And
Interesting.
the cinematographer for this film also did Poor Things, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's all that good.
No.
But for some reason, I feel like this movie pulled all those elements together of like, oh, I like the characters. I like, I think it's well written and the story has a really interesting perspective. And I think it's well shot in a way that I don't think these people have like
Hmm.
produced work that I've appreciated on this scale
I agree.
since.
I think when you get too much free will as a filmmaker, sometimes there is a temptation to just go nuts with like. Okay, Yorgos is obviously making a very intentional choice with his artificial sets and Poor Things, and everything looks kind of like a matte painting or whatever. But I think that that's also the consequence of being given like too much free reign to just create an entirely artificial, imaginary cinematic world. Whereas working with existing locations around the middle of England is probably a more interesting challenge. But what I was going to say is that I think this script was originally written by this woman called Deborah Davis, and she has only got one other writing credit to her name, which is a 2022 BBC Marie Antoinette series that I've like never heard of, that has seemingly only got French actors in it. It's the only thing she's written since this, despite getting an Oscar nomination for this, which is really odd. And then I think Tony McNamara came in and
That's who I was thinking
polished
of,
it.
Tony McNamara.
Yeah, and he shared the nomination with her for it, and now he's written Poor Things as well. And as you said, he did The Great, which I never saw any of. Because Nicholas Hoult is in that as well, right?
He is.
Yeah.
He and Elle Fanning.
Interesting. That feels like a delayed response to this movie. I guess not too delayed if it started in 2020, but like a reaction to this movie, but also everything now that's like a period piece, but the girls are cool and witty. I'm sort of wondering, is it just like a Gerwig's Little Women type thing? Like,
Yeah. I like that there's like an engaging story there. I
Mhm.
kind of feel like there's like a real girl bossification of Catherine the Great. I mean, that's kind of, I think, how historians tend to view her, but like it's a little bit too apparent in the screenwriting. And I like how in this one there's like meat there. It's not just like for the sake of portraying women in power or whatever. It's like, you know,
Yeah, no, none of the characters in this film are getting girl bossified. Like,
no.
it's incredibly, I guess, uh, nihilistic in its view of the kind of power hunger that's going on here, in a way that probably is standard enough in male characters in these situations, but in terms of women, you're right, there's probably either one extreme or the other, usually, of like either completely manipulative or completely girl bossified. But in this, it's more, I don't know, but is it historically accurate to the best of your knowledge? You know a lot more about this than I do.
Um, yeah, to my knowledge, so fun fact about me and one of my friends tried to create a podcast at one point that we wanted to like look at period pieces and talk about um their accurate, well, not necessarily their accuracy, because I don't think that history being portrayed accurately would make a very good movie, but kind of the sources that they like use and how the story comes together. And this is apparently, if I remember correctly, like a lot of Whig party propaganda from that time,
Okay.
because in the movie, Sarah Marlborough, Duchess of Marlborough, is like her husband is like a major, is the whatever the what the fuck
Hmm.
of oh, it's the Churchills. It's literally Winston
Oh,
Churchill's family.
really? Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
where
Sarah
Churchill
Churchill,
comes
Duchess
from.
of Marlborough. That's
That's
it, yeah.
hilarious. Okay.
So he's a Whig, a major Whig, and it kind of shows that coming into contact with the Queen, who was kind of had more Tory sympathies.
Hmm.
I don't know what the Tory party from back then, how it compares to today, but
They probably looked
a lot
like
of that,
Marxists compared to today. Like,
yeah. I mean, God, it's who even knows? But no, that this kind of idea that this transition of power where um, Sarah Churchill lost the confidence of the Queen was like, you know, a power play by the Tories, and it had something to do with like extorting her about some kind of sexual relationship. And yeah, it's kind of it's based in a propagandistic sort of source, but I don't know, I like that it explores that in a more complicated way. Like it's not just the most salacious thing. It's not doing what like The Last Duel is doing, where it's like, which I know you're a big
mhm.
Last Duel head.
Yeah, I way prefer The Last
Where
Duel
it's
to
just,
this, but that's boy bullshit. Like, although not really.
no, it's not.
It's not. I think The
And
Last
it should
Duel.
be my bullshit. I should love
Yeah,
The Last
I
Duel,
think The
but I'm
Last
just
Duel is I don't know. I think The Last Duel was like sold as such boy bullshit that when I went to see it and it had a feminist slant, I guess that was such a nice, refreshing surprise to me that I was like probably overly, ecstatic about it. When in reality, it probably isn't quite as sophisticated as I would give it credit for.
I don't know. I think it's fine. I just think that the idea of like, and I think it's a perfectly respectable approach to kind of say like flat out, here's this person's testimony. Let's
Mm-hmm.
put it to the screen. But I don't know. I like how this film kind of engages with a lot of made up elements, but also a lot of, contemporary like allegations and just the kind of political sniping at the time. I mean, there's a lot it doesn't get right. I think her husband, like Queen Anne's husband,
Mm-hmm.
would have been alive at the time of
Right.
the movie taking place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. None of that shit really matters, though. Again,
Yeah.
like it's a movie of like what happens, which is would not be half as fun as
Yeah.
anything like this. So.
I remember I had recalled based on the kind of internet love for this film that there was more gay stuff in it than there actually is. Like it's all implied.
It's very limited.
Yeah, and when we watched it last week, I was kind of shocked that there isn't any real explicit physical stuff happening with the Queen until the last like 5 minutes of the movie. Because I feel like this film has been embraced as a modern lesbian classic online, and I really don't think it deserves that title. Like,
I mean, who's the real lesbian in the movie, though? Like, I feel like it's unclear who is getting with the Queen just to kind of
mhm.
court her power, and she just wants to be loved. And is it like, I don't know, are any of these characters like actually, I don't know. That's a different conversation.
No, you're
But
right though.
it's, I don't know. There is more stuff with the Queen though throughout the movie. I don't know if you're
Don't take my
maybe
word. Don't
not
take my
as
word for it. I might not have been paying as
okay,
much
sure.
attention as I should have been. This man beside me certainly wasn't.
That's fair.
The
But I don't think it is like a love story or like
no.
necessarily like a sapphic story.
Yeah.
It's more just like sex and manipulation and
Yeah.
power kind of thing.
As with
I don't
all
think
of
it's about like
yeah. As with all of Yorgos's
yeah.
films,
And the
it
only
is yeah. Go on.
yeah. Sorry. The only point where like someone's sexuality comes into play is when there's this kind of threat leveled against the Queen by Sarah. And it's sort of saying like at the time that there would have been this idea of a woman who has sex with women, which is like a whole thing that
Hmm.
I find historically fascinating because it's like, I don't know, is that like a set of behaviors or is that like an identity or whatever? But that's all stupid
Hmm.
Trinity blowhard shit.
Sure. Well, I don't know if I don't know if Yorgos is the person to make that movie necessarily. There's definitely an idea in there, but that should probably be somebody else's film to make. I think
Yeah.
he's making these sicko movies that have somehow gotten into the like mainstream Oscar consideration circles, and it's an interesting he's it's weird how he's managed to endear himself to like not only cinephile culture but also to like normie old people British period drama heads who are now voting for his films every award season, and I'm kind of perplexed by how he's pulled it off, but I admire it. Like these
It's interesting how he didn't
I think
get painted as kind of like off-putting.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever he's doing, he's hitting the right exact area between what people would find boring.
I think it was Olivia Colman. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of think that bringing her into a project like this, because she's so prominent in those circles, like it's like she's such a safe bet for getting the old English heads. I don't know.
She's probably got like the highest popularity, and I'm interested to talk about her because she's such an interesting, like, quote unquote movie star to me, because like this is a woman who's won the Oscar for Best Actress in the last 5 years, and yet has also just kind of maintained her like British TV character actress career at the same time, which is so unusual. And I guess it's kind of like what Alison Janney has done or whatever since winning her Oscar, but like Olivia Colman is like a TV star who like got into a big movie leading role just because she was so perfect for it, and is now sort of has to straddle those two sides of her career. What I did look up was I was interested in what her relationship with the monarchy is, because I was like, oh, she's playing this queen. She's definitely.
Did you see the thing on her Wikipedia that says she thinks of herself as a lefty monarchist?
Yeah, I found that to be obnoxious. Like, that shit drives me insane.
That's Stephen Fry bullshit.
That's Stephen Fry bullshit.
It's unhinged.
She is in the sort of Stephen Fry. Like, I feel like Miriam Margolyes is like to the left of her, where Miriam Margolyes just kind of like, I think, talks shit about the royal family and is like a legit left-wing person. And then Stephen Fry is to the right of her, like desperately begging for a knighthood. And Olivia Colman is kind of right in the middle as this like somewhat annoying but generally well-intentioned British Labour voter. Now, she said she's very pro-Palestinian. She's written letters.
Real Stephen Fry.
Yeah. She's written letters in support of trans women. She seems to be good on like 90% of stuff, but it said that she was against the Scottish independence vote, which is generally a bit of a red flag for me, because that was like a pretty easy no-brainer, like, let's dismantle the monarchy and the empire thing. And like the people who were against that were at the time were the J.K. Rowlings of the world, who would later reveal themselves to be dodgy. But Olivia Colman seems fine and everything else. But yes, a lefty monarchist is how she describes herself. But
odd. She's a good deal. This may be a bit of a detraction, but she's a good deal younger than I thought she was.
I was gonna say she's 50 this year
now.
Insane.
Yeah,
she could pass in this movie for being in her like mid 60s, I would say.
I think that's kind of her whole stick, though,
is that she seems a lot older.
Yeah, like I think I was watching like Graham Norton with my parents, and like I think her and
You're telling me that Olivia Colman was on the Graham Norton show?
I know. And I think it was like Olivia Colman and I think it was like Salma Hayek or someone were sitting beside each other, and my parents were like trying to guess how old they were.
I would say I'd say
Yeah.
Salma Hayek is like
4 or 5 years old.
I would say like 7 years older.
years
If you
older.
can
she's
see.
like 60. I think she's
Yeah,
Salma
she
Hayek.
could be. It's nuts. Like Olivia Colman.
Don't quote me on that.
Yeah, Olivia Colman has only been acting in film and TV for like 18 years. So she's not as if she was around since she was like really young and we've all just been ignoring her. Like the first movie she's in with a Wikipedia page is Hot Fuzz, which she's in quite a lot and is really good in, and plays one of the cops in The Village.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to, because I saw that too. I was trying to remember who she played. Yes, I do remember.
I think she's
now.
got a decent sized role in it. But like I remember just suddenly her being, and then she's in Peep Show, which I've never watched but is beloved by many people I know, and I think that's when people started to develop a lot of affection for her. But I remember
But in
when
that one, it's interesting because she's like a young, like attractive, like she's the love interest, right?
Oh, I haven't seen
one
it. I guess she could be. That is interesting because I see her as being pigeonholed so much as like frumpy middle-aged English mom character.
I guess that's kind of what Peep Show is, though. It's the frumpy English person.
That every character on that show is frumpy, so she fits in. So within the rules of that show, she is like hot stuff. Maybe that is true.
Yeah,
I think
but
in the
I don't
context
know.
of real life, she's a normal, decent-looking person. Like,
Sure,
it's just,
I mean,
it's just she's in the context of hanging out with Emma Stone on screen constantly.
Yeah, she's one of the, like many character actors, like the let's say Michael Shannons of the world. Yeah. She is someone who would be a perfectly attractive person if you met them in real life. In movies, can be cast as like being a weird looking, unconventionally attractive person, and it's like, well, that's just because they're surrounded by like people who are ridiculous.
It's like the Batman villain actor effect.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be turned into the freak.
Yeah. We would never talk about Batman villains on this podcast.
I apologize for
after Joker month, where we just did 4 in a row. She plays Margaret Thatcher's daughter in The Iron Lady in 2011, and that's kind of her. Like now she's popping up in every British period drama, like political biopic. She is in The Lobster in a small role, which I had forgotten. So the Yorgos had a relationship with her. But I think between The Lobster and this, in that 3 years, she becomes so big. She's in this show called Broadchurch on ITV in like 2013.
I've seen Broadchurch.
Okay, good, because I haven't seen it. Broadchurch was the biggest deal in the entire world in Britain and Ireland that year. You could not turn a fucking corner without hearing about Broadchurch. It was so big, and I never saw it. Is it good?
An American friend of mine recommended it to me, actually.
Okay,
while I was living in Ireland, it was like it was worldwide, which is crazy because it really isn't that different than like
every other show like that.
Every other British like crime.
Yeah,
it's like a Midsummer Murders episode drawn out into a miniseries.
Yeah,
like,
I think her and David Tennant have similar personas in British media, where they are like people just think they seem like nice people and like give them a lot of like. They hype them up maybe slightly more than they need to be as a result. So when you combine them, like David Tennant, people are always like, oh, David Tennant's the best. He's so nice. And I'm like, yeah, but is he a good actor? I'm not so convinced. But anyway, I think putting the two of them in a project together just got the British lefty media just their fingers a tingling to go and endorse this show. But what happened, which was so funny, is they did an American remake of Broadchurch where David Tennant came back to play his character with an American accent, and as the Olivia Colman character, they cast Skylar from Breaking Bad, Anna Gunn.
Okay.
And that show had like a crazy cast. Nick Nolte was in it.
It's so funny in America. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. No, keep going.
I was gonna say in American media, I don't think you could have like a motherly an actress that's so consistently cast as like a frumpy person. Who is as beloved as Olivia Colman is in British media, because that's what Skylar White is, and we hate her.
Yeah, exactly.
As Americans.
Yeah, exactly. Only in an English.
She's America's mom. Like.
Yeah, only in.
She's American's.
Like who would you?
Mom, who we all hate. Like,
yeah, like I guess the equivalent, and this is not just because you told me you had watched Her Big Star Vehicle the other day, Hannah, but Octavia Spencer is kind of the equivalent in America, right? Ma herself, like. I feel like it has to be a black American woman, because there's no white American woman that hasn't been attacked viciously for being in any way an unconventional personality. Like, I feel like Octavia Spencer is the American Olivia Colman, if I have to come up with an answer for that, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. She's definitely in similar kinds of projects. Like, she would be a detective. She would be the daughter of a man with dementia.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
A good character.
Speaking of the man with dementia, have you seen The Father, which I'm a big fan of?
I certainly have.
It's so
I remember
good.
Crying.
Yeah, it's so good.
I remember sobbing at the end.
I also remember sobbing at the end.
Away some big lessons.
But I don't remember.
And I remember that you're watching the Oscars with you.
Yes.
And falling asleep and then waking up to you being like, well, they ruined it. They've ruined it. They've done it to themselves. It was because
Hopkins won and he wasn't there.
Award.
But I will tell you, there's a connection here, because twice in my life I have won big bets on the Oscars by taking risks. And those two times were Olivia Colman winning the Oscar for The Favourite and Anthony Hopkins winning the Oscar for The Father. In the Olivia Colman case, it was this big year, Lady Gaga versus Glenn Close. And the gay men of America could not decide who to put their chips down on, and it ended up backfiring.
In modern politics, Glenn Close for what movie?
For The Wife. The Wife.
Oh shit! I thought it was Hillbilly Elegy.
No, it was the Wife, which is an equally problematic piece of shit. But I think nobody thought Olivia Colman was going to win except me when I went on to pattypower.com and I put, I don't know, €10 on her, and I ended up winning 50 or 60. It was great. It was a genuine surprise. It was the last time, the only times in the last few years that acting wins at the Oscars have been huge surprises were her and Hopkins. And I was happy for her at the time, despite up until that point having found her to be kind of annoying. I no longer find her annoying. I think I've decided that my my initial reaction to her was based on just kind of like general English people issues I have and nothing to do with her herself. She is super talented and now is like a very refreshing presence. Shane was watching Wonka, and I think you really like said that she was an important part of why that movie is so tolerable. Like,
I think so. Like she's that kind of Colin Firth equivalent English woman now at the stage where she's like the default person you want in your kind of English set period, or kind of Roald Dahl setting. Like,
but I do.
No, big fan.
Speaking of Colin Firth, though, I do want to mention two things she's been in since winning her Oscar. So there has been an effort to like make Olivia Colman vehicles, because she is a big star in theory. She has an Oscar, and she is someone who has been now asserted as a leading actor because of winning lead actress. I will come back to the fact I don't think that she is the lead of this movie if you have to pick one of the three, but that's beside the point. She now is in a position where producers obviously want to put her in leading roles, and as a result we've ended up with movies such as Joyride, an Irish film where she plays a woman from County Kerry who finds a baby and has to bring it across Kerry in her car, which is not a very good film, although I will say that the director and writer are very nice people, but it is not very good. And then one of the worst films I've ever seen in my entire life, Sam Mendes' Empire of Light, which is a big, expensive Olivia Colman project. It is about her, and it is a period piece, and she's a woman who works in a cinema in the 1980s in a small English village. And this movie was advertised as being about the love of cinema, and it's a lovely quaint drama in a British village. I went to see it. I thought, okay, this looks like it's about a loving film. It might be nice. This movie is mostly about Olivia Colman having a bipolar disorder, having a complete meltdown that costs her her job and her romance. And like, there's a scene in this movie where this film is full of sex, like really unpleasant sex scenes in like offices and toilet cubicles and shit, because she's just kind of like acting out constantly. She has an affair with her boss, Colin Firth, and then she confronts Colin Firth in front of his wife at the premiere of Jurassic Park, screaming at him in the lobby of the hotel for 10 minutes. This is like truly one of the most miserable, downbeat and unnecessarily upsetting films I've ever been to see. I saw it in a cinema in Lighthouse Screen 1. I was the only person there. The cinema was empty. I took out my phone. Who was going to stop me? And someone in another cinema in Dublin told me that they had a screening of it where only one person showed up, and that person was Dan Stevens. So those are my Empire of Light stories. I have an opinion.
You saw this in the middle of January.
I saw this on a Tuesday night in the middle of January.
I was going to say it was a Tuesday. Of course it was.
Dan Stevens was in Dublin for some reason.
Is he a Dublin local? Like,
he is not. He's English. I don't know why he was here.
Does he not have like, okay, whatever.
He traveled over. There was nowhere else he could see Empire of Light. I
wonder if he took his phone out.
Yeah, he probably definitely did. He was texting me because we were the only people who saw it. I think there's a chance that this film sold 2 tickets in Ireland, and one was me and one was Dan Stevens. So Olivia Colman is not very good in that film.
This is like the English remake of Silver Linings Playbook.
God, Silver Linings Playbook is like fucking Cat in the Hat compared to this. It's like an English remake of like Welcome to Marwen. It's a movie about like, God, you want to watch a sad person for a while? Wouldn't that make you feel better about your life? It's miserable. Since then, she's been in this movie called Wicked Little Letters with Jessie Buckley, which is a movie about how saying fuck is funny.
This is the bad side of like
Olivia Colman, yeah.
Yeah, like
the twee, it's funny when an English lady swears on Graham Norton is an annoying trope. And like Fleabag does do that with her as well, I think, which is one of her big TV roles, of course, where I feel like they squeeze as much juice out of like, it's funny when an English woman swears as much as they can.
See, I have a bit of a problem with The Favourite with this kind of concept as well, where like there's a lot of just like misogynistic words thrown around, and
they love just calling they love just calling each other the C word in this, and then like pausing for a second to let the audience laugh.
Inaccurate.
No, I'm sure but it's just the way it's wrought into the screenplay. It's like
there's a pause to let you sit on it and acknowledge it, and like, look what we did, kind of thing. It's a bit.
It's the comedic beat of it rather than the accuracy of it, I guess.
Yeah. No, I'm actually there with you. I definitely. Again, it came out in like 2018, so I would have been quite young seeing it. I think it is like the fun shock value of like, people from a long time ago, these fancy English people, fancy people who are like of royalty, whatever, swearing and saying, modern foul words and whatever. But
Mhm.
I don't even know if that's that much of a stretch. I feel like people have an impression of the 1800s of being kind of filthy and just kind of
Yeah,
unpleasant in general. I don't think kind of
I
yeah,
guess.
but
projecting
the
swear words
hybrid,
onto.
like
Yeah.
Mm.
the whole gentry element too, which I think they kind of touch on of all these people's states and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just feel
But
like I
then
get a
again,
nudge every time someone says something dirty. And I'm like,
it's
yeah,
a bit
stop.
much. No, I agree. It's a bit, I mean,
yeah.
rewatching it now, I'm like, I've
Which is funny because
definitely
I
outgrown
Yorgos
some
Lanthimos doesn't.
elements of this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. Yorgos doesn't seem like that kind of guy in real life either. Like when I see him being interviewed, he's not like because he's not English. He's this like big gregarious Greek guy, and he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who sits around sniggering at people saying "fuck" and other words. Like, so it's funny to me that he's not writing these films himself. So I'm like, is it the fucking Tony McNamara who is British problem of putting this stuff in? I don't
Does he
know.
have the same writer on all these?
McNamara's written the last few, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, having seen a season of that Catherine the Great show, I
Mm,
do think it's a McNamara problem. I don't
okay.
like I think to an extent they're, like have fun with it. I disagree like with
Hmm.
the one thing I didn't love about The Last Duel is how it was written and that it was very kind of, in my mind, a little bit um not slow, a little bit stuffy, a little bit
Hmm.
Shakespearean.
Yeah.
And I prefer movies that are kind of written historical pieces that are kind of written in like modern colloquial language that would reflect the level of
Yeah.
whatever society they're trying to
Hmm.
depict.
It's funny that
Um,
The Last Duel is so Shakespearean when it was written by Matt Damon, Ben Affleck,
Yeah.
and Nicole
I was just
Holofcener.
thinking
Like
that.
they're all
it's
trying
an
so
actor
hard.
thing. It's
Yeah.
like a theater thing, I think. And also
Yeah.
that's how medieval is like a lot of medieval history is like I feel like the medieval lore is like transposed
Hmm.
via, or I don't know if that's the right word, but like via Shakespeare. So it kind of
Hmm.
makes sense to me.
Olivia Colman, in terms of box office, her films are probably made. Oh, I can't do the guessing with Shane because he's looking at my screen. Look
Oh,
away, Shane. Look away.
I'm not looking.
Do you have any guesses of how much money these three actresses' films have made? All together,
Combined.
combined, like as in each one combined.
What do you mean each one
As
combined?
in, how much is Emma
Sorry,
Stone made?
okay.
How much is Olivia?
Wait,
Okay, Emma
I think a
Stone.
better question is who do you think of the three is the highest grossing?
Well,
And to me, it's obvious,
Yeah,
unfortunately, but
I
yeah,
think it's
I
kind
think
of
it could be one of
obvious. But what do you
Yeah.
think?
I'm gonna go Emma
You
Stone.
think Emma Stone?
Yeah.
That's correct.
who's in second, I think,
Second is
is
interesting, yeah. Hmm.
because we have
I'm
Mummy.
not aware of Rachel Weisz sneaking into a sub role in Marvel. Maybe she
Well,
has. Oh, she has?
She's in Black Widow, yeah.
Okay, that's gonna be
Rachel Weisz,
the difference then.
her films have made $3.5 billion.
Is Emma Stone over 5?
Emma Stone, I think it's four something. Emma Stone's 4.7. Not that far off.
It's always a treat to see like an A-list star and their box office is under 5 billion. It was like,
Yeah.
you're not.
Well, it's because they're not
Doing
in more
d-
than one or two Marvels, is the thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Emma Stone's in two Spider-Mans, two Croods. She's in La La Land, which is inexplicably almost $500 million of a gross, which is great. That's
Class.
enormous. Cruella, a
Mm.
huge hit, a terrible, terrible film. Have you seen Cruella? It's so bad.
I didn't see Cruella, no, but I feel like that could be a good boy party.
It's not a good boy party. There's no other.
Who's the other boy?
No other
Emma Thompson.
yeah, I feel like Emma Thompson's barely in that. I mean, she's
I guess
looking
I don't
like-
know. Yeah.
It's very much an Emma Stone just walking around looking cool in fancy outfits. Like that movie is just a fucking music video. Like it's so narratively weak. The Help, a huge hit, a film which I like, even though I know it's not woke to like that movie because it's white savior nonsense, but it is good. Super bad.
Allison Janney.
Yeah.
Super Bad.
Crazy Stupid Love.
That was one of her early ones, right? Like she
Superbad
kind of
is her
started.
first movie, I think.
Yes,
Superbad.
yes. She was like an early, like in those kind of teen,
Yeah.
awful sex comedies.
Yeah. Well, that Superbad's okay. I think Easy A is a phenomenal film. I think it's a
Easy A
five-star
is like a
movie.
top 10.
Yeah, I think
top
Easy
10
A is
movie.
brilliant, and I think Easy A, like if she retired right now with Easy A and La La Land in her back pocket, and like I guess
I think, I think retiring with Easy A and La La Land and I guess The Favorite and some other things in your back pocket would be very strong. But also I'm reading these out of chronological order, guys, because I'm reading these by box office. But she's also in Zombieland and the sequel. She's in Gangster Squad, which is awful. She's in Birdman, which is probably the like nadir of my relationship with her. I really don't like her in Birdman. She's like blonde in it. She's like really just like shot in this really like irritating way. I feel like the camera's just up in her face the whole time and she's like crying and screaming in every scene. It's really an irritating.
I've only ever seen that clip of her.
Yeah.
I would assume yelling at the Michael Keaton character. And it's, I don't know, it didn't really sell the movie for me.
Yeah.
But she is a natural blonde though, apparently.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's so weird. She looks so good with red hair. Her and fucking Hayley Williams from Paramore, I feel like, are both these people who are so known for having red hair and are like secretly blonde. Although I guess Emma Stone now has maybe gone away from the red hair a little bit. I'm trying to picture her.
Well, she was in The Curse. She kind of had it.
I forgot about
Speaking
The Curse.
of
I haven't thought about
her
the Curse. I
return
haven't
to
thought about.
television.
I have not thought about
Did
The
you
Curse.
ever get to the second episode?
I got to the fourth episode, I think, and then I
really
couldn't stick with it.
excited
It was
about
so unimpenetrable. Like, did you watch it? It was
I feel like I did. I watched as many episodes as I could within the limits of my whatever.
it was really hard to finish it. Like,
well, it's like I think Americans really like Nathan Fielder.
I really like Nathan Fielder, but that was just like Nathan Fielder like pitched at the wrong level for me. It wasn't like real enough or surreal enough for me. It was like fell in between the cracks.
Not with the weird houses, the weird mirror houses that they were selling in the middle of the desert. That didn't.
It was that was like one gag. I don't know. That gag just like didn't.
I don't know. I liked it as a vehicle for the guy from Captain Phillips who like hasn't.
Barkad.
had as many roles.
Was he in that?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. I do like him. Yeah, he's good.
Anyway, that's too off track. But she's. It's an interesting move. I guess moving to TV does not mean what it used to.
No.
I think I was going to mention this, not to backtrack too much with Olivia Colman, but like, I don't know if in the UK it has the same, like there is that same divide between being a TV actor and being a film actor.
Yeah.
As there is in the US.
The British, like the thing is, there's just not as many movies made in the UK, so you're always naturally going to go between the two. People like fucking Judi Dench and Maggie Smith have always done both, you know? I think, and Emma Thompson less so. I think Emma Thompson became a movie actress and stayed there. But like Olivia Colman is weird because she's obviously stars in The Crown, which is like the biggest role on TV for 2 years. But then she's in Heartstopper as the mom of one of the nice gay boys. And that to me is like a stupid role for her to take. Like that actually makes her look like she's not doing well for no reason. Like, why do you need to play the mom in like a teen show? Like, she obviously got the script, got an offer of a lot of money and went, this will be lovely. It's nice and it's for gay children and it'll be a good message. Like, not a good career move to show up as the mom in a teen show. Like, that just doesn't make you look like a movie star or like an Oscar winning, top of your game actress. Like,
is there a British equivalent of going and doing like a season of 911?
No, I don't. No, because British TV is so different. Every British TV show is 6 episodes. So like
doing Broadchurch, that almost would be like doing a crime show like that is almost as
like every 3 or 4 years, like Carey Mulligan will do a TV show, and people don't really watch those shows, and like those shows aren't on in America. But she's been in 2 good BBC shows, and she's still considered a film actress. So it's easy to straddle that in Britain because TV shows are short and they have big stars in them and they're made quickly. Whereas
and they're not going to tie into like 7 seasons if it keeps rolling.
No, whereas
exactly, like you don't have to commit.
Whereas, like, poor Nicole Kidman now is stuck in this endless cycle where every year she's in 2 new crime, miniseries. And I don't understand why she, like, doesn't just commit to movies all the time.
At least with the rise of the miniseries, you can kind of, there's like
you can start and stop,
cutoff. Because, of course, American television is endless compared to English television. Like, Lily Gladstone this year did the crime series.
True.
I watched that.
I heard it was good,
but it's like she's done.
Yeah.
That's a one and done.
I think
she can, like,
Nicole Kidman is like, Nicole Kidman's like the one person who's gotten stuck where she actually is like it almost feels like she's on a 24 episode network show, because every show she finishes, she immediately starts a new one that's like exactly the same. But she's about to get another Oscar nomination apparently for this movie Baby Girl with Harris Dickinson, so maybe she's about to become like a film lead again. I don't know.
Oh, did he direct?
No, sorry.
I saw
he didn't direct, but it's directed by the woman who did Bodies. Who's like, I don't know,
right.
Danish director or something. But Emma Stone's less successful movies on here. We got Battle of the Sexes, a tennis movie that I hate, that I went to see in the cinema, where she plays Billie Jean King. That movie has more lesbianism than The Favorite does, to be fair.
It would be, because it's about a modern lesbian woman.
Exactly.
Who,
Yeah,
like,
fair. Fair enough. Her
Yeah.
love interest in that is Andrea Riseborough. And then she's in Irrational Man, the Woody Allen movie with Joaquin Phoenix, which is a terrible and creepy film. She's in Magic in the Moonlight with Colin Firth, which is less creepy but still terrible. She's in Aloha, where she plays a Hawaiian woman with Bradley Cooper and Rachel McAdams, the Cameron Crowe movie, which is like almost killed her career for like a brief moment there before
that's an old people movie.
La La Land. Yeah.
No hate.
And then she's in Kinds of Kindness this year, which I really, really did not like. Again, with Yorgos, where she plays 3 different characters, and she's probably the best thing in it, because like Jesse Plemons and Willem Dafoe are fucking not doing their fair share of the work there. But she that's just a terrible film, and she doesn't have a lot to do.
Do you see, in the Yorgos Lanthimos universe, do you see Margaret Qualley becoming the new Emma Stone?
Maybe.
Like his new puppet hot woman.
Emma Stone
put in terrible situations.
Yeah, Emma Stone is doing the next Yorgos again. I think she's shaved her head for it. It sounds awful.
Okay.
It's called Begonia. It's about like 2 people who are like anarchists who kidnap a CEO. I think it's something like that. It's her and Plemons, and fucking Alicia Silverstone just got cast in it today. Oh, I don't like the sound of it.
Kind of an interesting. Silverstone's an interesting.
Well, Alicia Silverstone is in Ireland right now shooting a series that a friend of the show is working on, apparently. So I'm interested to hear. She's anyway, funny Robert F. Kennedy Jr. supporter.
She is. Oh, but she's.
I do like her.
Who among us?
But who among us? It
We were
hasn't
in
been.
San Francisco when he admitted to the
Debate.
baby bear.
Yeah, it was.
Situation.
That was the greatest political moment of the year. Yeah, I think Emma Stone's going to keep working with Yorgos Lanthimos for the rest of her life, because the man just won her second Oscar under the age of 40, which is the first person to ever do that. So, or the first woman to ever do that.
How old is she?
She's like 34, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow, Jesus.
She's got 35. It's literally in front of us.
Yeah.
She's born in
right in the middle too.
Yeah, she's got 2 Oscars already, which is ridiculous. She absolutely did not deserve to win the Oscar this year. It should have gone to Lily Gladstone. It's an absolute travesty that it went to her. I don't think she's terrible in Poor Things. I think that's a fine film and she's fine in it. But like, Lily Gladstone had that in the bag, but people just wouldn't watch that movie because it's so long, and people don't have the attention span, and
You know me, I don't care for how long movies tend to be these days, but I think it needs to be purposeful, and that's why I thought Killers of the Flower Moon had there was Poor Things, I think, was needlessly long.
Oh, absolutely. Poor Things was so needlessly
and
long.
I honestly will say Poor Things and Emma Stone in Poor Things kind of changed. It really influenced how I think about this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, I hadn't seen this movie in a long time when we kind of agreed to like talk about it, and I remember really liking it as like kind of a young like history major who was interested in like gender and sexuality and stuff like that. But I don't know, in hindsight, it's a fun enough story, but kind of like what Shane was saying earlier, like all that silly stuff just it doesn't hit when you're not 19 years old.
Maybe not. Yeah,
like in our house, unfortunately, being Poor Things is used as a derogatory term now. Like we watched Queer the other day, and we were like, "Oh, this is like Poor Things," and I'm like,
yeah,
it's not a good thing.
Yeah, we watched Rachel Weisz's gay husband Daniel Craig in the new Luca Guadagnino movie, where he plays Mr. Gay in Mexico, and there are a lot of scenes in that movie where he's standing in front of weird backgrounds, and it is like pure Poor Things matte painting.
Like, some of it is good, but some of it's not.
But some of it looks really fake, and it was driving me insane. And I think that artificiality works in Poor Things because it's about like a Frankenstein woman, but in a movie about like a real person, you don't really want that.
Yeah, like Emma Stone is kind of doing something similar in Poor Things as she is in this, where she's like the outsider who doesn't know the rules of the world, and she's kind of doing, I'm going to be super confident in it anyway, and I find it a little bit grating, that kind of performance.
I don't know. I think that I preferred. I almost disagree that she's like an outsider who doesn't know the rules. Like, I feel like in this movie, she kind of knows the rules very well and is very canny with them. But I don't know. I still think now of Lanthimos as kind of like leery, and I don't know. Especially after Poor Things with like the Emma Stone's like sexuality and all that shit. It's just like, I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I think her doing an English accent, doing this like forced naivety performance is the most annoying version of her.
It is annoying.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just find her so completely charming in most things, and I love her in La La Land and Easy A. So it's so weird to me. Like, and I find her annoying in Birdman, as I said, for different reasons. In that movie, she's basically playing like a heroin addict who's I don't think she's a literal heroin addict, but she's acting like someone who's like off their drugs and is like just reacting in this really like wired way, which is just kind of annoying to watch. But these are the two versions of her that I don't like.
Yeah, her like some of her like bigger roles are like kind of as the like very clever, very witty. Like, I feel like that's where she kind of shines. Like Easy A, and even The Help, she sort of plays a very similar character who has the naivete and the vulnerability, but just like is very.
She's the bookish person in that town.
Smart, talking, bookish. Yeah.
No, you're right.
But I don't know. Go on.
Well, I think if there's three. Back to the premise of this podcast, there's 3 leading women in this movie, and that's great. They put 1 up for lead at the Oscars and 2 up for supporting, which is a fine practical choice to make sure they'd all get nominated. I don't agree that Olivia Colman is the person in that situation that you put into lead. I think that Emma Stone
might be
Emma Stone is clearly the lead. She drives the narrative, she's in it more, and she's a bigger star. It makes way more sense to put her as the lead.
It's kind of no one else's. Well, I guess the Rachel Weisz character, her kind of station and situation changes by the end of the movie, but like that's the biggest narrative is like Abigail's whole ascension.
To me, that just feels like a tactical choice because Emma Stone had just won her Oscar and they're like, she's not going to win again. Olivia Colman has a better chance. I'm amazed Olivia Colman did end up beating Lady Gaga and Glenn Close, but I actually, as I said, I'm not joking when I say the gay men of America, and I include in that many old Hollywood producer types who vote at the Oscars and have wives and children. They split their vote between these 2 very similar type of actresses. Glenn Close and Lady Gaga appeal to the same type of person. And Olivia Colman then got all the like English people, it worked out well for her in that I think the American Academy is divided into like stuffy English people and, old queens who love Liza Minnelli and her various kind of new disciples. And I feel like Glenn and Gaga are 2 generations of that. I obviously would have liked Lady Gaga to win that Oscar. I think that it would have been fun for Lady Gaga to win an Oscar for her first movie, for Star is Born. Which I think we've discussed that on this podcast. We did an episode on it, and I think she's really good in that movie. And I think it would have been really fun for her to win an Oscar for Star is Born, because I think every Star is Born should win an Oscar because it's part of the narrative of A Star is Born that the main actress would.
And she's like Cher. It would be one step closer to Cher for Lady Gaga.
I feel like it should be illegal not to give the lead actress in A Star is Born an Oscar just because it's part of the movie. It's like part of its whole shtick. But anyway,
and she's like so famous that nobody would be really mad that like a newcomer who doesn't have hasn't found their feet is winning the big one. But like, and
then like Olivia Colman wins her Oscar.
Folia de will bear fruit.
Exactly. Olivia Colman does this. Lady Gaga is one of the only people we've discussed twice on this podcast, and she's only in 4 movies. It's insane. But what was I going to say about Olivia Colman? Of course, wins her Oscar, and then she does her whole like, I'm such a flustered English woman, I'm drunk, and like people still impersonate it to this day. Like, don't bring the energy of the Graham Norton show to the Oscar stage, please. I beg. Like, it's just they're two different things. I don't want to see.
Anywhere.
I don't want your Fleabag Miranda Hart, act up on that stage. Lady Gaga would have dedicated it to Judy Garland. It would have been beautiful. But look, I bear no ill will to Olivia Colman. She's getting that bag in.
We're really back on Olivia Colman.
She's too interesting.
She's too interesting. But I remember that, and the way, like, after the Oscars, like, theatrics of the last few years, Olivia Colman, like, being kind of a drunk, flustered English woman is like, as an American, looking at how presidential elections used to be, where it's like,
it's so
oh my
quaint.
God, can you believe Mitt Romney stuttered a little bit during the debate? What an imbecile.
Exactly.
And now, like, full just craziness.
Yeah, the idea it's like
now it's like
that whole 5 year
Will Smith is punching Chris Rock. Like, it's all just fun.
That whole 5-year stretch of the Oscars were the most shocking moments, where like Ellen took a selfie with 10 people in it, and then within 5 years it was like the La La Land fuck up and violent assault happening on live television with the biggest movie star. You're like, oh yeah, you got 10 people in that selfie though. Well done. And 2 of them were Kevin Spacey and Jared Leto. Like, what a world.
Yeah, we look at that selfie and we're like, how many are left standing? Like, it's Ellen to begin with. I mean, obviously not to the level of Spacey.
But you're right. The only person in this movie who had an Oscar when cameras started rolling was Rachel Weisz, who won Best Supporting Actress in 2006. Bet you didn't know that. She's an Academy Award winner for The Constant Gardener, a movie we've all seen.
What was she doing?
So,
just
Constant Gardener,
gardening the whole time?
no, she plays an Amnesty International worker who gets in some country where Amnesty International are doing business. She gets kidnapped or something, and then Ralph Fiennes has to go and rescue her. It's sort of it's like a John le Carré adaptation, very English patient coded, like a Ralph Fiennes movie. Looks like something I might enjoy, honestly. Like, has a couple fun people in the cast, but looks boring. And she I just contradicted myself within 2 seconds. I shouldn't have said that. But Rachel Weisz won her Oscar for that in like a pretty easy year. I don't love.
What was that? Was she supporting? Or?
That was supporting in 2006. She was up against like Michelle Williams and Brokeback Mountain and stuff. It was like kind of a not that toughest year, but Rachel Weisz is, if you sort her movies by box office, it's a very fun assortment of very different stuff, which we always like on this podcast. Her biggest movies are Oz the Great and Powerful, where she plays one of the witches. Both of the Brendan Fraser mummies. Then she's in The Bourne Legacy. She's in Aragon, which I don't remember her being in. She's in About a Boy with Hugh Grant, which I don't remember her being in at all. She plays Vince Vaughn's girlfriend in Fred Claus, a fantastic film.
I did see that.
It's great.
See that on her.
She's in The Lovely Bones as the Saoirse Ronan's mother, which is really good casting. She's like a great choice for Saoirse Ronan's mother. They have like a good like mother-daughter. Like, I think Laura Dern is really good casting as well for Saoirse Ronan's mother. Saoirse Ronan's mother is a fun, like, I feel like a lot of people have played that part over the years in different ways. Yeah. But Weisz and
Saoirse Ronan just like the easiest daughter,
maybe, or she's like, like
the most dynamic daughter. Like, anybody could be her mother.
I don't think anyone could be her mother. I think it is a small subsection of dark-haired actresses in their 40s and 50s who could be her mother. Like, she's got this funny, like, we're not talking about Saoirse Ronan in this episode, but anyway, Rachel Weisz is good. Sorry. I'll get derailed for 10 minutes about Saoirse Ronan.
You said Weisz was in Aragon?
She's in Aragon, which is a terrible film. Yeah, she's in that.
What's so funny is I used to be obsessed with, we had a DVD copy of Night at the Museum, and it had an Aragon commercial ad right before it. I was obsessed with the Aragon commercial. Now I want to see the film.
You haven't seen the film?
No, I just saw the trailer for it.
Oh, it sucks.
I was like, that is so cool.
No, Aragon was a major disappointment to me as an 8-year-old. I even then I couldn't pretend it was good. And then Lovely Bones, she plays Saoirse's mother. That's another terrible film. She's in like Runaway Jury, Definitely Maybe. She's in that Dream House. I think she meets Daniel Craig on the Jim Sheridan movie Dream House, which is crazy. And then she is in like lots of other random stuff. The Lobster, The Fountain, Envy.
She was in, I watched this a little bit last summer when I was trying to avoid finishing my master's degree. She was in a remake of Dead Ringers.
Oh, interesting.
It's a
Okay.
TV show where she plays Jeremy Irons' character as like a lady.
Yes, I saw the ads for that. That's
And
interesting. Okay.
I watched like 5 episodes of it. It's not good.
Okay.
It's Dead Ringers. It was
But
never
she's a
gonna be
good
that
she's a good choice for like a female twist on a Jeremy Irons part, though.
Oh, because they have the same. I mean,
Yeah.
God, Jeremy Irons seems like a total monster.
Yeah, but
like,
he's also in Aragon, so watch out.
no, he's a good, but he has like an on-screen monstrosity, and of course an off-screen monstrosity. But she brings it to the screen,
Yeah.
and then her reputation is
Interesting.
at least okay.
Yeah. There's 2 films that I really liked her in the last couple of years. One of those was Denial, which is about she plays a lawyer who takes a famous Holocaust denier whose name I'm forgetting. This is like the real guy, the like famous British nasty bollocks. I'll tell you his name now. David Irving, who was like the most famous British Holocaust denier guy. She plays this woman, Deborah Lipstadt, who takes him to court. And the whole movie is basically about how the burden of proof is on her to prove that the Holocaust happened in a court. And it sounds dark and dull, but it's actually quite riveting, and has Andrew Scott is in it and Tom Wilkinson, and it's a really like very, very interesting.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
It's a very good drama. And then directed by Mick Jackson, who did The Bodyguard, which we talked about recently. And then she's in this movie Disobedience, which is this like, speaking of like weird lesbian movies, this is a film with her
Vanessa
and
Kirby.
Rachel What are you talking about? Vanessa Kirby?
Was she not in this?
No, you're thinking of something else. Disobedience is Vice
I
and
know
Rachel
it is.
McAdams.
Rachel McAdams. Sorry.
And they play like a Hasidic Jewish community, and one of them is married to a rabbi, and they get into like an affair, the 2 women. An interesting film. I thought Rachel Weisz had more going on there as a star than in many things I've seen her in. So I don't know. I'm pretty pro Rachel Weisz. I'm also just like a fan of her and Daniel Craig as a couple, because he's just like, that's a gay man, and I'm happy that he's married to Rachel Weisz. I think that's fun for them.
Well, it's so, because of course everyone after The Favorite kind of was like, oh, she's such a gay icon, but she's
married to one.
Little did they know she.
Yeah.
What you gonna
Married
do?
straightest man in the world, James Bond.
Yeah, the straightest man in the world, James Bond. I think that they are a very attractive pair, and if they want to, identify as a heterosexual couple, I'll let them. So, interesting. She was involved with Darren Aronofsky for years. They were in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's funny. She could have played the whale. They did meet on that Jim Sheridan movie. So, Vice's son, so she had a son previously with, I guess, with Darren Aronofsky. And then she had a child with Daniel Craig in 2018. So in
which would have been around when this film came out.
So in 2018, she was like 40. She was like 46. So like,
right, I guess I don't know. Well, who might have?
Who are we? She is like she is a wealthy and healthy actress. So who's to say?
She was in Dead Ringers.
She was in Dead Ringers.
Those ladies know a thing or two.
Yeah, and then she's also in the Daphne du Maurier movie My Cousin Rachel, which is just a weird case of like, why are you putting Rachel in a movie about Rachel? I just feel like that's just like, they were lazy there. They cast Rachel Weisz only because the movie had Rachel in the name. I refuse to believe otherwise. Anyway.
I love when people do that.
That's like the dumbest thing I've ever seen it said, but I also believe it strongly.
Actually, something interesting about the ages there, and I don't mean to fully derail, but like I was kind of doing some like light looking up, and they have the same age difference, I believe, as Queen Anne and Sarah Churchill.
So Sarah Churchill was older than Queen Anne in real life?
She was.
That's so interesting.
And then the Emma Stone character, Abigail Masham, was only like 5 years younger than the Queen.
Okay. So that works out.
Like throughout the dynamic of the movie, I feel like they're all like the child at one time or another.
Yes.
And they're all the caretaker at one time or another.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's funny because if you told me that you wanted to cast an actress who was 4 years older than Olivia Colman, and was noticeably a little bit older than Olivia Colman, I'd be suggesting Glenn Close. It's hilarious that Rachel Weisz is that person. I would never ever have guessed she was older than Olivia Colman. But
it's also, of course, the Olivia Colman old factor that we kind of touched on.
Yeah.
Like,
it's good for her. She's going to be able to play the same role she's playing now in 20 years.
Exactly.
Probably.
Yeah.
She's got a long
truly.
career of
Yeah.
doing
Well, she's
stuff like The Crown.
Yeah.
And
Well, in 3 weeks she's collecting the bag in Paddington in Peru. So great,
of course. That's
great.
The most Olivia Colman
I'm amazed she wasn't in the previous Paddingtons, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
The poster for this movie is a fun, kind of iconic poster, I would say at this point. Although Yorgos movies all have very they put a lot of effort into the branding. I feel like
the beige.
Yeah, it's got this beige background. Emma Stone sitting on the ground like a toddler with her arms crossed. Olivia's on her throne, and then Rachel's sitting on her lap. It's a bit fake looking, but I do like it. It's very distinct and recognizable.
From as far away as I am from the screen now, I probably couldn't tell you who those actresses are.
Right, but you could tell if you zoom in.
Yeah.
This film was, of course, produced by Irish producer Ed Guiney, and it turns out Ed Guiney was actually the person who brought this film to Yorgos.
Oh, yeah.
So fair play to him from Element Pictures.
All right.
Very integral to the success of this film and also Yorgos' other movies.
I like that Rachel Weisz is sitting like a puppet on.
Yeah, she does look like a ventriloquist puppet on her knee. Yeah, she does. Anything else to say about this? Sorry, I haven't talked about this film's Oscar success. Otherwise, this was nominated for Best Picture. Can everyone remember what it lost to that year?
2018.
Yeah, this is the Oscars.
Green Book.
Green Book was the winner this year. Green Book won. The other movies nominated were Roma, A Star is Born, Bohemian Rhapsody, which I would imagine almost won, which is catastrophic.
Yeah, I remember this being a
bad year.
Bad year.
Yeah, we've also got Vice and Black Klansman and Black Panther. That was a really bad year.
Yeah.
Like Vice, Black Panther, and Bohemian Rhapsody are definitely among the 20 worst Best Picture nominees of the century. That's awful.
Garbage.
Vice is garbage.
I don't know if The Favorite's winning. If there was a second, I don't know if that would be.
Yeah, I don't know. I think The Favorite was the favorite for I didn't even do that on purpose.
I thought Roma was always
Roma was the favorite for a while.
That's actually, I almost remember Roma winning that year,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I thought it was a different
He
year.
won best
I
he won best director, so you might remember that.
Oh, that was it.
But then
That-
Rami Malek won best actor. Mahershala won his second best supporting actor Oscar in 4 years, which was so stupid. And then Regina King beat both Emma and Rachel for supporting actress, which was good and deserved. But it was a bad year. The Favorite, did it win anything else? I'm trying to see. I feel like it must have won
Costume?
It must have won something like that. But Bohemian Rhapsody just kind of won a lot of stuff.
Oh god.
Black Panther won costume and production design.
Makeup, Vice.
Yep, The Favorite only won one Oscar for Olivia Colman. So I guess all of the support for it just went behind her. Interesting.
what happened to costume that year? Was it nominated?
I think it was nominated. I think Black Panther beat The Favorite, Mary Poppins Returns, Mary Queen of Scots, and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Sandy Powell, who did the costumes for this, was also nominated for Mary Poppins Returns. So she probably just split her own vote there.
I didn't think there was much practical costumes in Black Panther. I thought that was a lot of.
There actually is. Black
there is.
Panther.
That's
Black
one
Panther
better
has a
ones.
lot of cool. Both Black Panther movies have won Oscars for costumes because
Okay.
they've turned a lot of old tribal African costumes into superhero outfits.
And they're done practically.
They're done practically.
Okay,
Those movies,
fair
the
enough,
only thing they have going for them is the costumes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Mary Queen of Scots was so bad.
Haven't seen it, but Saoirse Ronan and Jack Lowden met on that movie, and now they're married. So at least something came into the world. I don't know.
Hey, there you are. The Mary Poppins one is funny because I remember what else came out that year with a woman with was it Colette or something?
Yeah,
We
I
were
think so.
all these women with hats.
Yes.
It's a big year for women
Big
with
hat.
hats.
Yeah, The Favorite doesn't really have any hats.
Big wig.
No hats.
Crowns and wigs.
Crowns and
Wigs.
Yeah.
Big wigs. And then there's oh my God, the one special shout out to the fool man who looks a little bit like James Corden.
Oh, yes. I love the
Nude
fool,
in
the
the
fool
wig.
man.
Oh,
Yes,
getting
that's a
pelted
great
with
shot.
the-
That's the best shot in the movie with the
tomatoes.
tomatoes. Yeah,
Oh.
that's great.
That felt intentional. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've been sitting on that for the entire recording.
It
I'm
is
ready to
good.
bring it up.
I remember seeing that, and
sorry.
I said to you when I saw that the rest of the movie should have this energy. This is the kind of chaos this needs,
And then Nicholas Hoult character kind of had he was a little snappy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He and Joe Alwyn was in this film,
Joe
Really?
Alwyn in
the
this
nation's boyfriend.
His
Yeah,
boyfriend.
moody, and
Yeah.
you can tell why he's Taylor Swift's he's just got
the one
a
that got
Pelted
away.
him with tomatoes.
Yeah, they should have.
yeah.
Well, folks, that's it. I hope this was your favorite episode. Ding, ding, ding.
Hey-o.
Thank you so much for joining us, Hannah, and discussing this film that we all think is okay to good. okay to good.
Okay. It's not my favorite.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
It is good that there was a big successful movie with 3 women. I'm on recording right now, so I'm saying that loudly. I think there should be more women in films.
And as far as like historical, like depictions of historical stuff goes, I think it's interesting. Like, I think the sources they drew from in the script were really, it seems, it's an interesting way to write a period piece. And I don't necessarily appreciate every way they went about it, like all the dialogue, but I don't know. I think the narrative was interesting and didn't fully sacrifice the historical tension of the time, and it was good.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for tuning in. You can find us at boypartypod.com, boypartypod on Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back next week with more boy partying, and Hannah, please do join us again soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.